Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career with a little self-help around the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope that what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Philip Wilkerson back finally with another episode of Positive Philter. It's been a very busy couple of months, lots of changes for the Wilkerson home, and I thought today we'd have a special guest, my lovely wife.
Hello.
Hey. So I finally got her on the podcast, guys. It's been almost a year. I tried to convince her, over a year now, of the Positive Philter, but I thought one of the most positive influences in my life has been my wife, without a shadow of a doubt. And so I didn't think this podcast would ever be complete without having her as a guest. So thank you so much. So I kind of opened it up to my fellow social media Facebook world about what can we talk about. And we just got some really good suggestions, how we met and then how we influence each other to stay positive and to actually create endeavors such as this podcast. So I don't know, you want to talk about your first impression, how we met? Because we kind of have two different versions of this story. Well, not two different versions, but two different perspectives.
So we were juniors in high school?
Sophomores
in high school. And Philip had a crush on a friend of mine. And they were talking on AIM, Instant Messenger, obviously. And she told Philip that she was going to the local public library and, needed to get off AIM. So she and I went to the library, and lo and behold, there was Philip Wilkerson with his little sister, Lois, who at the time was probably 8 or something. She was little.
Little, yeah.
And Philip said, "Oh, I had to bring my sister here to the library." Meanwhile, Lois is saying, "Philip, what are we doing here?" So Lois, you kind of
ruined my game.
Yeah, ruined
my non-existent game. Blew my cover.
So I thought he was a weird, creepy guy. And then fast forward a couple years later,
senior year of high school,
we had some mutual friends, and we started talking on AIM.
I remember specifically you said, my friend, our mutual friend, said, "I'm hanging out with Philip Wilkerson," and you were like, "Is that creepy guy from the
that's
library?
The stalker."
The stalker, years ago." And I was like, "How's she That's 2 years ago."
And then we had those links in our AIM profile that was called I Am Chaos, where if you clicked on it, it was like a trick link, and it would show who clicked on your
profile,
your profile. And I clicked on Philip's Ilphil 500.
Yeah.
And he IM'd me saying, "Oh, I thought I was the stalker."
Yeah, Miss Magala 16.
So that's how we started talking on IM. And we talked all through the summer of going into college. And we hung out that summer too. It wasn't all just via IM. We hung out. We just kind of introduced our groups of friends, went to some parties together, and the rest is history.
We finish each other's sentence.
So basically, we've known each other longer
than half our lives, right?
Yeah.
No.
Right.
We're 33. What's math?
Yeah, longer. We've known each other a long freaking time.
Yeah.
Moral of the story.
Basically, moral of the story.
We've grown up together.
We've grown up together. And I think that was such a big influence because if it wasn't for my wife, as she so eloquently put, I'd be dead in a dumpster. And so
I guess you should probably tell people that story.
I probably should tell that story too. So while in college, I just remember me and my wife, lovely wife, were having an argument about something. And, if you know me, I don't really have specific attention to detail. And I think I remember you specifically saying, if it wasn't for Philip, like your head not screwed on right and all this stuff, but if it wasn't for me, you'd be dead in a dumpster. And I
And
said,
Philip's response was, okay, I'm very aware I would be dead if it weren't for you. But why would I have to be in a dumpster? It's not like I like kill somebody or something.
I'm not in the mob.
I'm not in the mob. Like, why do I have to be in a dumpster? So I have not. No one has let me live that down.
No.
Like Philip's family, everybody knows that story, and nobody lets me live that down. I don't know. It was just something that came out of my mouth.
Yeah. So.
All right. So those are
our two background stories. And so, so we got to fill up a podcast with other stuff to talk about. But I think one of the main suggestions that one of the people talked about is that we both recently, in this condensed, I started a new job. I joined Alpha. Um, we've introduced the life, new little one, new Wilkerson, and so we've got a lot of changes. And in these changes could be very difficult things. Like a lot of change brings on difficulty and hardships, and how do we stay together and stay united? So, um, you know, I think I would like to say that in our marriage, with these changes that we've gone through, um, for me, I think a lot of what we've come through with it is that we talk a lot. Maybe we're doing it on a podcast, but you would say that we are pretty much a very process oriented family. Would you agree?
right. We talk about a lot of things. We communicate a lot, and I think we've gotten through this challenging time of both working full time, being parents, and still trying to have some balance to our lives by communicating and supporting each other. When Philip wants to do things like Alpha, we figure out how to make that work, and I gave him that time away from home to do that, and he's always really supportive of me in when I need some time to do things for myself as well.
Yeah, and I would say that with that balance, I've I've felt a lot of guilt recently because a lot of it has been me, doing things in personal ventures, and I've really been appreciative of um, your support. But one of the things I think that helps us um, is that I try to my best to recognize or say that I appreciate your support of my endeavors, and I'm trying my best to allow you to have the space to pursue the things that you want to pursue, um, and or meet people that you want to meet or your friends and do things. And maybe I do a lot. Like I think I'm a little bit more extroverted than you, and I do a lot. So I realize that a lot of my activities are out and about. But I want to make sure what I'm trying to do is find a balance where I let you have what makes you happy,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that's not fair to only be able to do all the things I want to do.
Well, we do a lot of things together too as a family. A lot of our friends we're friends with, both in the couple, so we do a lot of stuff with our friends that also have kids, and that's a nice way for both of us to get that social time with our friends, but still be with our kids, and so we do a lot of dinners at our house and easy things like that, so we can have fun together, but spend time together as well. Um,
And so that's how we keep it together. So I mean, some of the things, and this is being truthful. At at which point, when we were, I was doing all these endeavors, what keeps the balance between you allowing, keyword allowing, or letting me do things that I want to do, but then also not feeling like I'm not taking advantage of you. How do you find that balance?
um, I think you're very present when you're home with the kids, so that's really helpful. In the fall when I was pregnant and exhausted and working full time, a lot of times you'd go out after Bennett went to bed, which was a big help, so that you'd help me get to bedtime, and then you often would sacrifice sleep so that you could do things that you wanted to do. Um, So I think that's one big thing. And then whenever I do, it's not frequent that I do much on my own besides wanting to go to the grocery store by myself or Target.
Right.
But you're always really supportive when I do want to go get a pedicure, go see friends, or do things like that. You're always really supportive of me doing that, which I appreciate.
And do you think that's a typical situation, for moms and dads? Like usually, I think a lot of dads don't recognize that they have like maybe a little bit more. They have a different type of loss when they have kids. The freedom thing, because it seems to me that it's more like dads have like hobbies and activities than moms.
Yeah,
And
and
then when the kids
even
are
within the
born,
house, though. I mean, even within the house, I have a toddler following me around everywhere I go, and you disappear to the basement, and you could be gone for 45 minutes, and no one's like looking for you. I'll never forget when Miles was like a month old. I had him in the swing in the bathroom while I was just trying to take a shower. I have no idea where you were, but you were home in the house. And all of a sudden, a naked toddler climbs into the shower with me because he's like, Mommy, I didn't know where you were. I'll take a shower with you. So now I have the toddler in the shower, the baby in the swing in the bathroom, and you probably were recording a podcast in the basement or doing something.
I don't know. I don't think
Taking a
so.
nap.
Taking a nap, maybe. I don't know.
So I think that's the difference, is that for dads, not only, you can get out of the house and do, but even just at home, I'm sure other moms feel the same way, that the toddler's looking for me all the time. And I have an infant attached to me most of the time. So, it's just different for moms and dads.
I think that's something to recognize. And and something I recognized too was it seems like um, you had a more natural, even though it was stressful on pregnancy and it seems like you handled the transition of having kids easier than I did. Both kids, but I would just say I don't know. It just seems like
I think pregnancy prepared me more for it. I think for you, me being pregnant just wasn't, it didn't hit you the same way as, myself going through it. So I had months and months of kind of preparing and my body changing and, a constant everyday reminder of it. Whereas you went off to work and probably all day didn't even think about the fact that I was pregnant.
yeah. I mean, it wasn't super present in my mind, but yeah. I think that's the
It's
curious
just
part.
natural for, I think too, also just, moms, there is a bit more of, the babies just becomes kind of part of you when they're a newborn and you just are in survival mode. So it's not necessarily like handled it better as much as just, this is, this is what I had to do.
Right. Because I always thought about that. Like sometimes one of the things that when I was hard on myself is like um, when I was when I thought like, thinking these selfish thoughts, like I just want to do what I want to do and all these things. Then I would, it'd creep in. I'd have this sense of guilt, like, well, I don't think my wife thinks like that. I don't think that she thinks of missing out on things because you normally don't complain about it as much as I did or have.
Yeah, but I've also talked about, I don't have as many hobbies as you have. For me, a big part of my identity is my work as a social worker. And, that's a big part of what I do. And, my service to the community, and it's all kind of wrapped up in my job.
Okay.
So for me, I don't have as many hobbies, where I think for you, you get a lot of fulfillment out of things like this podcast, or in the past, weightlifting, powerlifting competitions, things like that. So it's just kind of different. Somebody asked about how, becoming parents affects your marriage and how we keep our marriage going strong. We've talked about that a little bit, but I think, we try to make an effort of having some time together where we can just talk, because I think I've found, especially with two kids, sometimes it feels like we haven't even spoken to each other all day,
Right.
except for about the kids. And
Now talk about that window. I mean, we probably sometimes get that window to talk to each other like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, like from like 9:15 to 10:15. But while I've been on maternity leave, we've tried to do lunches. So I'll come to campus and have lunch with you, and we have done a couple dates.
We need
And
to do that more.
even if we just do a quick date night, going to a restaurant down the street for an hour, we did that, and it was like the best thing.
It was refreshing. It felt like it was very like I enjoyed that really a lot, and it was like you said, it was really quick, that moment of time just to talk. And
Right. But we're definitely not one of those couples that, travels a lot without our kids, or we've left Bennett a couple times overnight, but not much. And
well, I think like what, once or twice overnight.
yeah, twice.
Twice, and so
Three times. Three times we've left.
3 times.
Yeah.
Wow, 3 times. So that's the average 3.
And he's 3.
3. So once a year.
I think we just try to carve out that time here and there. Even, a lot when Bennett was younger and he would fall asleep in the car. That would be a lot of our time where we would actually get to talk uninterrupted.
Mm.
But I think we just try to carve out these little times here and there to be able to talk and connect. But it's hard. It's hard with young kids, and a lot of time we try to give each other breaks, and so it's getting out of the house by ourselves versus getting out together.
Right. Or splitting, or
each taking a child.
Each taking a, we're a man-to-man coverage now, so whatever opportunities I can do to take the kid, take Bennett by myself. Usually it's Bennett, the kid. Well, I say Bennett because usually Bennett's, is mine and Miles is yours. And I would think, the change in perception. One of the things I like to note to people that are about to have kids is that what I say, when you have children, whatever issues that you have in your marriage, whatever things you argue about, money, guess time devoted to each other, all those things are exacerbated when you have a kid.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like whatever you're going through before a kid is times 10. So
so get that shit under control.
Yeah, exactly. My advice to people expecting kids or want to have kids is like, if like you have some really concrete issues, try to iron that out before. Obviously, you're not going to solve it, but try to have some kind of communication before you have a kid, because it doesn't get any easier. It actually, in fact, gets way harder when you have a kid.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think, we talk a lot about how social media makes everything worse, I think, because you compare yourself to, other people, and you're like, wow, they're doing it. And a lot of our friends without kids have said to us, like, your house looks like so much fun, Snapchat videos of our kids, Bennett dancing around and being silly and funny. And that is a lot of our life is, happy and fun and silly, but, it's also really, really hard, and it's really stressful sometimes. And so, having a realistic idea of what actually, what parenting is like, and it's tough and it's tiring, and it's also amazing and rewarding. And but like Philip said, I agree with you that if you have issues in your marriage, they are only going to get worse when you have kids, because you just don't have the time to devote to dealing with those things in the same way.
Sometimes issues that you normally could talk about on a daily basis, as we said, sometimes me and Maggie are so tired we don't really talk as much. So like, if you had some serious issues, you probably wouldn't talk about it for like a couple weeks later, and those things build up.
And kids are expensive, so money stuff is, we've had conversations for years and years about money, and we had kind of different views of money, different ways of spending money when we were first dating. And like I said, we kind of grew up together, and we were able to figure out a lot of that together, to be on the same page, which is good, because it's expensive, especially for us working and paying for childcare.
Right.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, my other analogy is that besides, if you have issues in your life, personal life, individually or as a couple, a kid is just a giant mirror. Basically, when you have children, it kind of makes you somehow, whatever you're going through in your life, it makes you evaluate yourself. Like it's a big, having a kid makes you bring up, your insecurities about yourself, your confidence, or, things like that. So that's why I think that it was good that we have communication. Um,
It's also been really helpful for us to have friends who are kind of ahead of us in this
yeah,
in parenting.
true.
We have a couple of friends who, are a couple stages ahead of us, and it's helpful to kind of see that there's light at the end of the tunnel in this
Yes.
stage of
Yes.
little kids.
Yeah.
So much of this stage I love. I love having a little baby, and I love the funny, amazing things that Bennett says on a regular basis. But we also look forward to being able to have more like conversations with our kids and going places and not planning everything around a nap time and a bedtime that's strict, because otherwise they'll lose their mind.
Yeah, and we're pretty, and some people have different parenting styles, but we try to adhere to having a schedule and being pretty tight, and
it's worked.
It's been helpful for us. But yeah, we both look forward to times where it's not like nap is so important, or we're flexible to just go places.
We can actually go to a restaurant and eat and speak to each other at the same time. That would be nice. Those things. So I try to be, in terms of my own positivity, I try to really be mindful of and practice mindfulness in enjoying this stage that we are in. I know I will miss this infancy stage, and I have loved this time with Miles that I've been on maternity leave, and this summer is going to be really fun. I'm off work on Friday for the next 5 weeks, and I get time with the boys.
Shout out to the MVP.
Of crazy boys. But I also look forward to, the future with our kids too. And it has been helpful having friends who have said, yeah, this was a really tough time, and it definitely gets easier in a lot of ways. I also have coworkers who I'm close to who have teenagers, and I'm hearing that end of parenting and not looking forward to a lot of that stage.
Which is funny, because I was, until I heard these stories, that when you have teenagers, they don't want to be bothered by you. And I was like, oh, that might sound nice not to be bothered.
Right, it sounds nice not to be bothered for like a day, but I think we'll miss a lot of this stage where our kids' entire lives are us, and they just want to be with us. And the following around the house is annoying right now, but I know we'll miss a lot of this stage too.
Yeah, I think that for the listeners, this was just a little good episode.
We're kind of on borrowed time with the napping infant upstairs.
We're literally looking at a monitor right now, so this might be a quicker episode than normal, but I think that we can do this again. I think I couldn't do any of these endeavors without my wife, and she knows that, and that's why I had to get her on this episode to publicly tell the world that how much I love her. It's out there on the internet. So, me, attention seeking that I am. But I think that, one of the things this episode is really drawing up is that we couldn't have done most of this. We are a good team. And I think from our backgrounds, we realize that the good team that we are is because we talk, and we actually really, really talk. And I don't know, we got examples from our parents that talk to each other. We both have parents that have been in long-term marriages, and there have been examples to us about marriage. And I think there's communication. We talk about everything. We definitely don't leave things unsaid for too long. Maybe a little bit,
Yeah.
but not too long, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad I could be here with you.
Yeah, I'm glad I can be here with you. So maybe next time, maybe we'll do a Q&A thing. But thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for being patient to the Positive Filter. We got more episodes coming soon when our kids taking naps and we can escape. Keep listening, like and subscribe, share this podcast with your friends. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Positive Filter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity a Movement. Thanks for listening.